Think back just a few years ago. The entire world of travel just stopped. But what followed that quiet was one of the fastest, most dramatic comebacks our economy has ever seen. So today, let's get into it, the story of the great travel reopening.
I mean, we all remember this, right? It's a moment burned into our collective memory. Suddenly, borders slammed shut, flights were grounded, and that constant, familiar hum of people moving around the globe, it just went silent. It was so eerie. For the first time in modern history, the entire planet basically just stayed home.
So to really grasp the scale of the collapse, we first need to rewind and remember just how massive global tourism had become. It wasn't just an industry, it was this giant interconnected engine for the world economy.
1.5 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many international tourist trips were taken in 2019 alone. The industry was at an absolute all-time peak, which just shows you how incredibly connected our world had become.
And then, almost overnight, that peak became a cliff. The shutdown triggered a crisis that was unlike anything we'd ever seen before, sending these massive shockwaves through every corner of the globe that depended on travelers.
The economic cost was just mind-blowing. An estimated $1.3 trillion in revenue from tourism, gone. Wiped out. And you have to remember, that's not just some abstract number on a page. That represents millions of jobs, millions of livelihoods that just vanished.
And the visual here really says it all. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got the high of 2019, and then on the right, 2020. The numbers didn't just dip, they absolutely plummeted. This was the single sharpest decline in recorded history. Period.
This quote just perfectly captures the feeling of that time, doesn't it? This wasn't just about data and economics. There was this profound, almost surreal quietness. I mean, places that are usually teeming with life, Times Square, the Eiffel Tower, you name it, they were just empty, totally deserted. But then, as the world started to slowly open back up and people's confidence returned, something incredible started to happen. This massive wave of pent-up demand was unleashed, and it fueled a recovery that was faster and fiercer than almost anyone predicted.
And this recovery happened so fast. It started with, cautious little steps in 2021, but by 2022, that caution was pretty much gone. It was a full-blown surge as all that pent-up demand just exploded. And by 2023, the industry was roaring back, getting remarkably close to where it was before all this started.
Get this. By the end of 2023, international tourism had already clawed its way back to 88% of its 2019 levels. Just think about that for a second. In just a couple of years, the industry recovered almost all the ground it had lost. It's such a powerful story of resilience.
But what's really interesting is that this recovery didn't happen everywhere at the same speed. Europe really led the charge, and the Americas saw a really strong rebound too. But the big standout here is the Middle East. It was the only region to actually go past its 2019 numbers. Meanwhile, Asia-Pacific, which had some of the longest restrictions, is still in the process of catching up.
So this comeback isn't just about getting back to the old numbers. The pandemic fundamentally changed us, and because of that, it changed why we travel and how we travel. You could argue we're entering a whole new era.
And this has led to a really key shift in our mindset. I mean, that huge global pause gave a lot of people a chance to stop and think about what really matters, and that's now changing everything about how we travel. This comparison really brings that change to life. Before, the focus was often on hitting those super crowded hotspots, finding the absolute cheapest flight, and just ticking places off a checklist. But now, the priorities are shifting. People are looking for less crowded destinations, there's a much bigger focus on sustainability, and a real desire for more meaningful, immersive experiences. It's a move from consumption to connection.
And this new way of thinking has created a whole new vocabulary. We talk about revenge travel, which is that powerful urge to make up for lost time. We've seen the rise of bleisure, where remote work lets us blend business trips with fun. Staycations became totally mainstream, and the digital nomad lifestyle went from this little niche thing to a global movement. It's changed what it even means to go to work.
And this idea of revenge travel was really the psychological fuel for the whole rebound. It wasn't just a vacation. For so many of us, it was this defiant act of reclaiming the freedom we had lost.
So the industry is back on its feet. Travelers have a whole new set of priorities. So what does this all mean for the future of how we see the world?
Okay, so what's the big takeaway from all this? We've seen incredible proof that the tourism industry is resilient, all fueled by our deep human desire to connect and explore. The comeback itself, is a fact. It's undeniable. But the evolution of travel, that's the story that's unfolding right now.
And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Are the lessons we learned from the shutdown actually going to stick? Will this new focus on meaningful and sustainable travel become the standard? Or will the pressures of the market just push us back to the old ways? The great reopening has happened, for sure. But the story of what comes next, that's still ours to write.